Yes. Good evening. Today we are going to discuss one of the activities present in the ADF, that is the until activity, and their scenarios where it can be useful and what are the privileges of using until activity or the for each activity and all. So for that one, we'll create one scenario like we have a table like let's say online transaction table. Start from online transaction table. So the table having the three columns: transaction ID, amount, and the transaction date. Okay. So what we are going to do, we are going to verify new records has been inserted or not by using the count and until activity in the ADF. Okay. So let's do a small sample pipeline on until activity, and then we will go through the scenario. Okay. Let's create a new pipeline until activity. The until activity works like a while loop, right? We all know until activity works like a while loop. I'm going to execute the inner activities. Same like a for each only, but the major difference is until the condition doesn't match or doesn't true, whatever the activities inside the until is going to keep on execute. Okay, for instance, for an example, so we are expecting a value to be 10. Okay, we have defined a variable and we are expecting a value to be 10. So until the value 10 must be passed through the variables or through the parameters. So until unless the 10 doesn't reach, the whatever the activities inside the until keep on executing again and again up to the timeout. Okay. If the timeout has been again, if doesn't come within the time, let's say timeout is 2 minutes, the value doesn't reach the within the 2 minutes, then the pipeline is going to be failure. Okay. Just like the English definition, what we have for the until activity, wait until he or she messages like that. Okay. The major differences for each and all in the for each, if the condition fails, inside activities are going to be failed. But in until, if the condition has been failed is nothing but false condition. The inner activities keep on executing up to when whatever the condition has been satisfied means true. If condition false, don't worry, it is going to keep on executing whatever the activities inside it up to the timeout. So within the timeout, if the condition reaches, it's going to stop the execution. Okay. So let's see a small demo of that one. Before that, let's create two variables. Let's say initial count, okay, of integer type, and then current count. This is also integer type. So I'm giving default value as a 0. Okay. Let's say, let's write some expression like, so I'm going to expect the current count should be always greater than the initial count. Okay. That is the condition, whatever I am returning in the until activity. So inside the until activity, let's pass the wait activity. Now I need to pass the value for the current count, right? So to pass the value to the variable, we need to use the set variable activity. Go to the settings and we have the current count value, and say, let's say it is as 10. Okay, let's publish. I mean, and we are going to set another variable for the initial count. Let's have this. So in set variable 2, let's pass the initial count as, let's say, 20. Publish. Okay, so we are stating that initial count is as 20 and current count as a 10. So always 20 greater than 10, right? Means our condition does not satisfied. So let's debug. See, even the condition doesn't match, the inside activities keep on running. When it is going to stop if the condition going to be met? Means the condition is true. It is going to only execute wait and set variable activity. So for the condition doesn't match, that's why it's keep on executing set variable 1 and wait activity. So let's stop the running of pipeline and let's pass initial value as a 10. So that's cool. Go to set variable 2 and initial value as 7. Current value is 10 and initial value is 7. See, the condition has been made. That means true. That's why it stopped the executions once it reaches to 2. For example, 1 నుంచి 10 వరకు వెళ్ళాలనుకోండి. You want to loop through 1 to 10. Once you reach the 10, you have to stop. Same phenomena. It reaches the condition and it stops the executions. So this is the one of the advantages of until activity. So to making use of this advantage, we design some scenarios. So every time I have a table called online transaction, as you can see in the Azure SQL, I have a table called online transaction. It has almost 4 records. Okay. Now the condition is verify the new records are added. Here I am taking as a sample. That's why I'm making it as a count. Every time I'm checking the count of the records added or not with the previous records. So we will take the initial count. Okay. And we will check out current rows count, and then we will update the initial count values. Okay. For this one, to execute the scenario, I designed one metadata configuration table like this. Table metadata. Okay, with the table name and last row count. So let's write a select query. T metadata. So initially I'm keeping row count as a 0. Then how to update the row count? By using the store proc. Okay. So in this scenario, we are going to make use of the until and store proc activities as well. So let's design a new pipeline. That pipeline is just for demonstrating the until activity privileges, nothing more than that. Verify count of records. Okay, let's create 2 variables. Let's say last row count current count integer. Okay, and let's have a parameter as well, para table name. Okay, so let's take the script activity. Why I'm taking the script activity? I'm going to write a script. I'm going to write a query like this one. Select last row count from T metadata table where table name equal to online transaction. So I'm going to write this query. Okay. For the value of table name, I created a parameter called para table name, and let's see how we can pass that one. So I copy this query, select star from table T metadata where table name equals to. So in the script activity, so I created a links service. Okay. I hope you people know how to create a link service and all. Okay. So this is not the scenario where I am focusing on link services and all. So if you closely observe, we have the query option and non-query option is there. So whenever you are writing the select statement and it's returning some value, prefer go with the query. Whenever you are inserting the data into the table, it's prefer to go with the non-query. Okay, let's add the dynamic content. Now where table name equal to parameter. Okay, make sure the other rate should be here inside the flower brackets as well as quoted with the string quotations, or else it is going to say I don't know whatever you are defining. String quotation is same like that. Here we given the string quotation, right? The same we are going to use it here. Okay. Let's say get last row count. Okay. Publish debug. So let's pass the table name. Sorry. So it's debugging. Either you can also use the lookup activity as well. Okay. Either you can use the lookup or script activity. You are convenient. So always handy with the notepad. Paste the output from the script activity. Now we are going to take the value called the last row count, which is inside the result set array. Under the result set array, and we have the rows. This is also an array. So from the Python programming language, we all know, right? So if there is a list and we need to take the value, means array of 0, so that the list has going to be disappear. The same formula we are going to use it. Now with the help of the set variable activity, we already defined the initial count, right? Sorry, last row count variable. So we are going to assign to that value last row count. Click on add dynamic content, get last row count output dot result sets zero dot rows dot. Now we are in this list. So from this, take out this key value, Click on OK. Publish. Now let's define the until activity. Redefining as wait for new count. I'm using the count. You can use the maximum. I mean, get the previous employee ID. Okay. And if it is not there, and you can also going to be check out new employee ID or any kind of ID inserted or not. Okay. You can perform those kind of operations. Same thing only. Here and there, some sort of changes would be there. And here, if you change the timeout, then we can get the timeout error if doesn't reach in the particular time. And I'm using the expression called greatest. So I'm expecting current count is always going to be greater than the initial count or last row count. Perfect. Now to get the current count. So to get the current count, again, take the script activity. Either you can use the lookup as well. And I created a link service. This time I am going to write the query. What is that query? Select count star as counts. Okay. Run this one. Okay. So the same query, and copy that one, paste it over here. That's fine. Now, publish this and run this pipeline to get the output of the set variable. To get the output of get current count script activity. And here I am passing the pipeline. So the condition does it met. So the current get current count script activities keep on running. So we require this output. Stop the pipeline execution. Now we need to define another set variable. Why? Because we initiated two variables. One is for last row count, another one is the current row count is there, right? To get the current row count from the get current row count activity, and we are assigning to this variable. What is the output? Okay, this is the another output. Result set dot rows dot counts. Cancel. I'm using the previous output, and here and there I'm going to change it. Okay. Copy. Or else we are going to define it. It doesn't take much time. Get current row count output dot, paste it. Result set dot rows having the same meaning, same output where also we have, but the one thing is going to be changed is the counts. Okay. Previously it was last row count, and we given as some alias name, right? So that's the alias name. We are going to get it. Absolutely fine. Publish. debug, copy, paste it. Now we will get the current variable count and we store it in a variable. Now we are not done yet. What we have to do, we need to update the last row count in the t metadata value. So like what value we need to update? We need to take the current row count and we need to update the current row count with the last row count in the t metadata table. For that one, we are going to use the stored procedure activity. Let's create a stored procedure. Create procedure. Let's say sp update row count, anything, any meaningful name, and parameters as table name. Let's say NVARCHAR, you can use NVARCHAR. I'm going to keep it as a 50 and at the rate new row count, and this is of integer type as begin, right? Let's write the update query. Update, which table we need to update? db.t metadata, right? Set, which column we need to set? Last row. Set last row count equals to at the rate new row count. For which table? Where table name equal to at the rate table name. Okay. And in the end condition as well. That's fine. Let's create a store proc. Okay. Click on run button. Right. So now go back to the ADF. What happened to this? Pipeline success. Okay. Get last row count and set variable as 0. Yeah. Oh, sorry. The condition was current row count is always greater than, right? Current row is 4 and it's greater than the 0. That's why it executed one time. Now we need to take the value of this 4 and we need to update the last row count using the stored procedure activity. And just now we created a stored proc, right? So let's use the stored procedure. On success, go to the settings, link service. Previously I created stored proc name, just refresh it. Update row count, just now we created, and import. Click on import to import the procedure parameters. New row count, that is going to be equal to the current row count variable. And the table name is equal to the parameter value what we are passing. That's absolutely fine. Now publish. Once after publishing, let's try to debug. Still publishing. Click on OK. The set variable still 0. Why? Because we doesn't updated. I mean, we add a store procedure just now, and it's going to take the value of that one. Let's refresh it. Yeah, success. Now let's debug it again. I'm not going to add any kind of records now. I'm just debugging it again. See, it's keep on executing. Why? Because we doesn't added any kind of records. It's keep on executing again store procedure. Now let's add some records into the table. Select DBO transaction, right? Insert into online transaction values. I kept transaction ID as identity. Let's say add 100, comma 2024 0603. Oh, sorry, it is of string. Query affected one. Let's try to refresh it again. Store procedure success, set variable 5 success. Why? Because set variable 2 is become 5. Okay. And it reaches the condition, right? Previously it was 4. Set variable 1 output was 4. 4 previously. And before not adding the records into table, current row counts are also going to be equal. Now the initial count and current counts are equal. That means the condition doesn't match. We use the greater in the until activity. See, we use the greater. 4 is not greater than 4. Those two become equal, right? And then we added the account. Sorry, we added a record and taking the variable, and with the help of store procedure, we updated the last row count. So if you go back to the table and if you run the table, now the last row count is equal to 5. So this is how actually we are going to make use of the until activity. So if it doesn't reach the true activity, we can keep, I mean, we can add a scenario after until activity. You may have some kind of filter activities, or you may have some kind of copy data activity, any kind of activities. Once until reaches, then only those activities going to be executed. If doesn't reach, those are not going to be executed. So these are kind of data validation and all. Okay, nothing more than that. And this is how we are going to make use of until activity. Instead of getting the count, you can get the last employee ID or whatever the order ID, and you can make sure new order ID ordered or not. Okay, those things we can do that one. Okay, that's it from this video. Thank you.